Okay, so in discussing sociology of sport, we're going to look at terms like equity and access a lot. So we really need to look at what they mean. So equity is whether or not resources are distributed fairly to all members of society. Now, fairly is the key term here, and it's really important to note that equity and equality are very different. Okay, so equity is distributing things fairly, so where they're needed most, perhaps, is probably easier to understand, whereas equality would be giving the same thing to everybody. So if you think of it in terms of money, if the government was to say give a monetary bonus to everybody in Australia, that might be equal. However, it might be more equitable, say, if they were to provide financial bonuses or financial supplements, shall we say, to those who are living below the poverty line, and not necessarily those who are extremely wealthy, because they don't need it, whereas people below the poverty line probably need it more. That would be equitable. So very, very different. Equal, giving the same to everybody. Equitable, distributing resources fairly. So that's often where it's needed more. Access is simply opportunities to participate in a sport of your choice. Are you provided an opportunity to participate in whatever sport you want to do in Australia? And if not, then we're looking at the reasons as to why. So that's where the study of sociology comes into it, looking at Figueroa's framework and all the different elements, which we will get to in another video. So we look at things that are creating barriers to participation. That's what sociology of sport is all about. What are the barriers and why are they there? So you might look at things like discrimination, prejudice, stereotyping. You might look at finances. You might look at, as we've said before, distribution of resources. Lots of different things. Why is infrastructure where it is? So in order to look at those things, we often use Figueroa's framework, which has many different elements. But before we do that, you will need to consider your own situation. So at what point maybe has there been a barrier to your participation in sport? You've obviously chosen a sport in your lifetime to play. Why is it you chose that particular sport, and why was it not something else? So in a female context, if you don't play something like rugby, why was that in a male context? If you don't play something like netball or do ballet, why is that? Okay, and sometimes it's down to personal belief and opinion. However, they are shaped and formed by everything in society, culture, people's opinions, things like that. So go away, make sure that you've taken notes on these things, and the next step is to really sink our teeth into Figueroa's framework.